Sooner the better would be nice, but I think that someone's got to take it. I think looking at the playing field right now, you can see the positives from both of those guys. In the meantime, other guys are stepping up, like Bourget and Finnegan. So, boy, just keep competing. I think it's done some really good things for Jake. It's done some really good things for Gerry as well.
It is time for the question of the day. Hot Takes or Toast, brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. Question of the morning. BYU fans, how confident are you about the quarterback situation? Your Kalani Sitake right there talking about naming a starting quarterback and the timeline for that. Mark says, well, as the late great John Madden once said, if you have two quarterbacks, you actually have none. Not sure anything else needs to be said about the BYU quarterback situation. Jason, as long as A-Rod is here, we have no hope. He's horrible at recruiting quarterbacks. Didn't they just send a couple quarterbacks to the NFL? So there's no hope? You were winning games.
Did he recruit them?
I don't think Zach Wilson. Well, I don't know. I'd have to go back and do the math on that.
Oh, I know Zach Wilson.
Yes, he did get
them.
Zach Wilson. Because he switched. That's that. Because Zach was going to go to Boise, and when A-Rod went to BYU, then Zach switched and dropped Boise and went to BYU.
Press on him, yeah.
Yeah. You are right, PK. Good work.
Yes, that was a lot to do with Aaron Roderick. And when they went with the NFL draft, Zach Wilson took some people, and one of the people he took was Aaron Roderick.
The message was, thank you. I wouldn't be here without you. You're the man.
He took his family. He took Kalani Sitake, and he took his high school coach.
BYU fans, how confident are you about the quarterback situation? Kevin, keep practicing. The season is months away. You want to read into that? I think Kevin is not excited about as it stands now, but hopeful that it'll be okay when the season rolls around.
Okay, well, they're going to keep practicing informally, obviously, until they get together
formally
in August for when they call fall camp 2 months before fall starts. So I'm concerned about it, though.
I don't see how you can't be.
Definitely.
How confident are you? Limited confidence. You could throw in the towel, woe is me, and say it's going to be terrible, or you could go with, don't know, got to go into wait-and-see mode. I got questions. I don't see how you could look at it right now and think, this is going to be great.
Yeah, I know they said they were all excited that Retzlaff didn't throw any interceptions in the spring practice. But that's not my goal. My goal is to score points.
Don't avoid mistakes.
So I'm more concerned about that.
Make plays. Players make
Detmer
plays.
threw 4 interceptions and threw 500 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Extreme example, but I get your point.
Who cares about the interceptions? I think it's I go back to the Travis Wilson thing. He threw 6 interceptions, I think, against UC Los Angeles. And then it was don't throw interceptions, if they even let him throw. And, okay, if your goal is to not throw interceptions, pretty much anybody can play quarterback then. You got to score points. You got to get in the end zone. You got to get big plays. What they need is an investment in Retzlaff to pay off because they invested in him in 4 games last season, and there was some progression in those games, but clearly it wasn't enough. And they know that ill-advised throw that he had against Oklahoma sticks in everybody's mind when it looked like they had an opportunity to really put a stronghold on the game, and he throws the pick that went for, it was 100 yards in my mind, but maybe it was only 96. It was devastating at that point. And you can argue, well, he had the option. Should you have just called a running play with Robinson taking away the option? Well, in retrospect, the answer is resoundingly yes. Because we know what happened. So is he capable of pushing the ball down the field and getting touchdowns? It remains to be seen. I can't say that I'm confident in him one way or the other. The other kid, Bohanon, has had some experience, won a Big 12 title. I would expect Retzlaff to be ahead at this point, given the fact that he's been there longer. I think if the roles were reversed, we would have Bohanon in the lead. Now, what does that mean at the time of the season is, we'll see what that means. I don't know that it necessarily means anything right now. Somebody's got to be ahead. The thing about it is, in their quest to get 6 wins to take the pressure off everybody, they have to be ready to go. They can't look at the non-conference as sort of a training ground. 3 years ago, the Utes did that to an extent. They didn't necessarily plan it, but it turned out that way when they went with Brewer, who was I think he was he was 27 of 21. He completed more passes than he actually threw in the spring game. That's how awesome he was. And then they made that change with Rising, and they stumbled in the non-conference and then went to the Rose Bowl. I don't think BYU's in that position. Point I'm making is their non-conference games have all got to be wins to take the pressure off of finding a way that minimally to get to 3 wins in conference season. Because if you don't want 2 losing seasons, that just heaps all sorts of pressure on everybody that nobody wants.
So at SMU and at Wyoming, you better be able to win on the road, because that's how you're going to have to get those games, or there's going to be a ton of pressure going into the conference season.
100%. Yeah.
BYU fans, how confident are you about the quarterback situation? Steve says pinning our hopes on a has-been and never was feels great. Almost as great as thinking Slovis wouldn't be a masterpiece of dog bleep last year. He mixes his jazz and BYU takes. Yeah, he was down. Clearly, Steve with this post is down on Slovis. Now, they had a winning record when Slovis got hurt, and he didn't play in the last 4 games, and they went 0-4, but 5-3, and it seemed like they were positioned to get bowl eligible and have a winning season.
Well, I think the 2 things that prevented them injury-wise from a winning record was Slovis and Robbins. What would have happened if they would have had them available for 10, 11, 12 games? We'll never know, but you can argue that they would have found a way to at least win 1 more ball game.
You can comment right now. Go to DJ and PK on Facebook or David DJ James. Plenty of people weighing in on the Cougars' future at quarterback. How confident are you?
I think they need a significant run game, too, to take the pressure off the quarterback, whoever it might be. I don't think there's any question about that, because you just look at some of the good seasons that they've had. They were able to run the ball, and we know Tyler Algier was very good at what he did. So they've got to find a way to move that ball on that ground. There's just no question about that. They have to.
Brian says, I think we'll be okay with an improved offensive line, good running backs and wide receivers, and a better defense. We just need the old game manager, which he put in quotes, like many U teams have had to get to 7 wins this season.
Yeah, you might need more than that, though. You're going to have to find a way to get points, and the quarterback is going to be an integral part of that. It always is. So from that perspective, more than a game manager, just don't make the big mistake. But you can't have the kid back there in a throwing situation saying, oh man, I can't make a mistake. It's like in your golf swing. Oh, I can't hit it over here.
That's the last thing you think before you hit it over there into the water.
Yeah, and you're thinking about it during your swing. It's just not going to happen in terms of getting positivity. It just won't work. So you have to find a way to be aggressive with a level of confidence. Because if you don't have that, then you're doomed before you even begin. And that's something that they don't need. So especially, in this conference, you're going to have to score, and you're going to have guys make plays. And they're going to have to make some plays that you didn't see coming if you want to get where you want to get. If you're just looking for minimally 6 wins, and if you go 3-0 in the non-conference, maybe you can get away with that. But I don't think going 3-0 in the non-conference is a guarantee. You got a couple of games there that I'd be very much concerned about.
I think you're understating what you think there. I think you think what I think, and that is that they are definitely not a guarantee.
Right.
Those aren't gimmies. Yeah, you may well get them, and you may end up 3-0, and you may feel great when you end up 3-0, but those are not gimmies.
No.
Going to SMU screams danger. Maybe they'll end up winning the game, but it's not a gimme.
No, they've got a very competitive schedule about this year. There's no doubt about it. The conference games, I don't know enough about the conference yet to guarantee this is an L, this is a W going through that. And plus, too, I have to always look at the schedule. I can't even remember it because of all the teams. There's so many teams in the conference. Who are you playing this year? It's going to be weird in that perspective. From that perspective, going forward, is that you have to wonder, okay, who are they playing this year, and who they're not playing, because there's
a lot of teams.
Conference.
It's a massive conference, and there's a lot of teams to miss.
Right, and so I have to look at that. It's not, the old days are gone.
Well, the easy example would be, they were good enough to beat Cincinnati last year. They'll beat Cincinnati this year. No, they won't. They don't play Cincinnati this year.
Yeah, right. And so you had that going on. So you get a familiarity with these teams, and we had it in the Mountain West. We had it in the Pac-12 from year to year. We had at least I did anyway. And so we'll have to see how that works. But I do think, just on paper, their schedule is going to be fine, and they're going to have to play well to win a bunch of ball games. And for me, I get that you want 6 wins to go to a bowl game. Somehow that signifies at least minimally a halfway decent season. But at the same time, 7-6, 6-7. I'm not so keen on that. I know that bowl game and you get the 15 practices, and that's so critical to your very existence as a program. I think that all that stuff is overstated. I don't see a whole lot of difference between 5-7 and 6-6. I know you get the extra game if you go 6-6. Good for them. But I think that to me, if I'm building a program, I'm looking for more than 6-6. I'm looking to find a way to get going into this season for these guys 7-8 wins.
And it figures to take good quarterback play. And the fact they're not naming a quarterback now just increases the doubt. It makes me think that Bohanon, while he may have improved physically, and actually he has improved physically, they still need him to get better. How well and how often can he throw the ball down the field or from one hash mark all the way over to the other sideline? Is he there physically? And if he isn't, which I suspect he isn't, can he be there in 3 or 4 months? How much more improvement is there going to be given a little more time here?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned that they haven't named a starter, because I think it should be this way. If you're coming off a season in which you had a definitive starter, then I just think by the nature of it, you should have a quarterback competition. Because if you don't, I take that as a negative in that you couldn't find another guy who was good enough to compete. I mean, how many times have you come off a starter?
There's no backup. What happens if there's an injury?
Right. And so since Slovis was clearly the starter, we knew. I got the tip that he'd committed to the program, put it out there, I think, on December 23rd of a couple years back, 2 December 23rds ago. And so it was clear he was their number one target. They were jacked about it, and he was going to start, and he did. All right, so now he's gone trying to make his mark to get in the NFL. Good for him. Wish him nothing but the best. And so you should, at that point, it's just like next year, Utah should have a quarterback competition, assuming Cam Rising plays and assuming he actually doesn't come back. I'm not sure. He may play another year in college. Who knows? Assuming he's done at 26 finally, next year at this time, they should have a quarterback competition. If you don't, that means the guys in your program right now aren't good enough to compete. And who would want that? Even if you named Rose or the other Wilson kid and he's our definitive starter, then that would mean the other guy wasn't good enough to compete. And you don't want that, do you? I don't think so. So I'm not alarmed that they don't have an absolute identifiable starter right now.
Billy Mack at Billy Penn is way more confident than most of the people posting. So if you need some positivity, Cougar fans, rally around Billy Mack. He says, I love Bohanon's resume. I'll never understood why Grimes chose Shapen over him. So Billy Mack thinks they've got the guy. He's going to be good, and this is all going to be great in the fall. He's ready to go.
Well, yeah, they did choose the other guy. Now he's gone. Where'd he go, Yak? He's not even at Baylor anymore.
Everybody's gone. Grimes is gone.
Shapen
Shapen's
went
gone.
to... Oh, man. I had it on the tip of my tongue. Oh, hold on.
Okay, well.
You got nowhere to go. We're going to be here till 10, Yak. No rush. For all that positivity, here's some negativity. Brian.
I knew I had it right. Mississippi State.
Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Off to the SEC. ICY man says, from what we've seen, what we've heard, it seems like Retzlaff has improved over the offseason, but I just can't unsee the goal line pick six against Oklahoma.
That's what I told you.
Gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. It's a bad decision. It's a bad throw. It may well have cost them the game. There was still plenty of game to go, but man, they were about to be in a great spot when they were punched that ball into the end zone. 14-point swing. It was a total gut punch.
And they take command of the game at that point.
Right.
And that's the play that he's known for right now. And it's a negative play, obviously.
But does that have to dictate everything going forward with 2 years of eligibility left?
Yes, it must.
Negative. Question of the morning, BYU fans, how confident are you about the quarterback situation? Jason, I'm confident that BYU has a situation. Oh, they got a situation. But maybe it'll all straighten out.
Well, it will straighten out. They'll have a starter.
Okay, maybe it'll straighten out for the better. Usually when you have a situation, that's a bad thing and things are going to go poorly.
I see, but I disagree on that. In this situation, you should have one. You should have a competition after you've just had a definitive starter. If you don't, then do you really have the guys on your team that are good enough to win you ball games? Well, you want competition at every other position, but you don't want competition at this position? Competition breeds competitiveness and blah, 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 makes everybody better, yada, yada, yada.
And we've heard from every coach in every sport at every level ever.
So you don't want it here?
No, it's just that the competition now is that this guy used to be good, but he's hurt, and his shoulder isn't going to allow him to throw the ball like a D1 quarterback needs to. And this guy's a JC guy, and he seems like a good guy, and he plays really hard, but he's just not good enough. That, I think, is what worries Cougar fans. And so when you say we have a situation.
Aaron Rodgers was a JC guy.
Yes, he was. Got any more recent examples?
Well, so if I had one last year, somehow that would make it legitimate?
I don't know if it would make it legitimate. It would give people more hope, and granted, it could be false hope because everybody's their own guy, and they have their own stories. So, and maybe this is the next guy. Maybe he needed 4 games against Division I football to figure some stuff out. I mean, he was giving interviews here in the spring that see, those are we took some L's, but those don't stand for losses. They stand for lessons. Okay, that's a good line, but if you really build off it, what if it turns out to be true? What if he's throwing 2.5 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns for every pick this year just because he played and he got to figure stuff out? I'm not going to rule that out. Don't know that you should be betting on it, but don't rule it out.
Good for you. I'm glad you're not going to rule that out.
Yeah, good. Are you ruling it out?
What am I ruling out?
You know what you're ruling out. Don't play dumb.
No, I was looking up junior college quarterbacks. Honestly, I don't.
Give me some JC quarterbacks who went to D1 and dominated.
Gardner Minshew.
I think it'd do worse than having Retzlaff turn into the next Minshew.
Yeah.
He's a good
So
college
there,
quarterback.
you wanted a more current one?
I like it.
I gave you one.
I like it. Thank you, PK. That gives people a little hope. Don't need a lot of hope, just need a little hope. We're turning to spring football here because there's no hope left with the Jazz. Let's go. We need a little hope.
Warren Moon.
I did not remember that Warren Moon was a JC quarterback. That's not very recent. But nonetheless, if they got Warren Moon showing up for the next 2 years at BYU, Cougar fans are going to be happy.
Cam Newton.
Yeah, I don't think they have Cam Newton on their hands. That was a different case. I'm going to rule that
Roger
out.
Staubach.
He's a Naval Academy guy. Since when do they take JC transfers?
He went to the New Mexico Military Institute.
Oh, so was that treated kind of like Air Force putting kids in their prep school for a year?
I don't know.
Okay. I did not know that he went there.
O.J. Simpson.
Not a quarterback. And I knew he was a JC guy, yes. All right, PK will keep looking up JC quarterbacks. When we come back, there is another pressing question. This must be answered, and it will be in a moment. Cougar fans, the winning and the losing doesn't figure in here. I think everybody here's a winner. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
And now, a look at traffic from the K.